Hello and welcome, race fans, as we get set for the Highline Diecast Collectibles Speed Cup Series. Race 2 of the playoffs is coming to us live from Talladega Superspeedway. Qualifying is in the books, and here we go, because this is going to be an important step on the path to crowning ourselves a 2025 Season B champion. And tonight's racing is going to be interesting as we get set for Superspeedway racing action. And it's a pleasure to be bringing you this coverage. Scott Rank alongside of Justin Price. Nolan Rempels takes a step back this week to look after himself. Just a touch in the background as he looks after the voice and looks after himself. But Justin, Talladega, race number 2 of a playoff schedule. And this one's tricky. Not only have you got to survive, you've also got to put points on the table.
Absolutely. This is going to be so important when it comes to keeping clean tonight. We know how chaotic these races can be. We know how difficult it can be to get some track position around here. Finding your teammates going to be critical. Finding some luck going to be absolutely pivotal. If you want to do well here tonight from Dega, so many different facets to think about. We're also thinking about making sure you execute on your strategy tonight.
Keeping the car clean, I think, is going to be one of the biggest aspects that we'll be talking about as the night progresses. Remember, no safety net here in the Speed Cup Series as well. 2025 Season B has been challenging. We finished the regular season off from the Charlotte Roval. Then we went to Vegas last week, and here's what the playoff standings look like after that race last week at Vegas. Cosmonine Oshu leads the way by 3 points over Philip Scott. Manazzi Major 10 back at the moment from the top. Ronnie Norman from Justin Malello, Nick Coates, Stephen Gibson, Garrett Austin, Ethan Amberg, and Jeremiah Vincent lagging down, unfortunately, at the bottom end of the standings. But it's challenging. Look at how tight the points are, particularly Malello and Coates, both on 4,032 points. A little bit of work to do for those boys if they want to make sure that they move their way forward. Realistically, I see that bubble right now, Justin, as that's probably a bigger risk than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely, especially since here today, one big incident, and that could completely change the complexion of this championship picture, to say the very least. So for the drivers at the top of the standings, they can't afford to be at the tail end of the field, finish in a bad spot on points. For those at the back of the field, this is their chance to be able to gain a lot of ground, be able to pick up points, be able to hope for some luck, try and close things down. This is a chance to equalize for the back. This is a chance for disaster if you don't capitalize on a good finish up at the front.
Yeah, and well, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the title sponsor, as it has been all season long. Highline Diecast Collectibles brings you Season 5 of the Speed Cup Series, your go-to source for high-quality NASCAR diecasts and memorabilia. Whether you're hunting for the latest releases, rare finds, or looking to sell your own collection, they've got you covered. Plus, don't forget, they have their live auctions every week on Facebook, where you can score incredible deals on the must-have collectibles. Check them out and follow along at facebook.com/HLD Collectibles, where passion for racing meets collectible perfection. And that is the next month worth of upcoming sales. You can already see it halfway through everything going on through October. But for the back end of October, still a lot to come our way. Auctions from Saturday this weekend as well. The thing is, if you're a fan of racing, you want to get yourself a diecast, who better to go through than the company that supports the Speed Cup Series as well. Everyone wants a diecast on their shelf at home, Justin.
Everybody likes diecasts. At some point, I think I had inherited from my grandmother at one point somewhere near 1,000 diecasts in my garage. So it was hard to keep them long term. Let's just keep it that way when it comes to that many diecast cards. But everybody loves to collect them. Everybody likes to get the latest cars. Everybody likes to be sure to keep up with their fandom. May as well get some diecast cars.
I was actually checking. I have one diecast in my collection from when I was a very, very young kid. It was the 1996 Bathurst 1000 winning car. And Craig Lowndes actually signed a hat for me over the weekend. It was his actual car. Big fan of that one. That got me into racing from a very, very young age. They're also important to the generations of the future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, time to walk through our pole position and our standings, as well as we get ready for the Ryan Newman & Associates powered by Remax Pole Award. And tonight, it is going to be that of Kyle Holden in the 88. He's earned the best real estate deal on the grid by winning the Ryan Newman and Associates, powered by Remax Select Pole Award. To find the best real estate in Michigan, you don't need the fastest time. You just need to contact Ryan Newman and Associates. He's going to be lining up alongside of Justin Malello. So it is going to be Malello in contention for this championship that will start alongside the front row. That is very, very important to get his race off on the right foot. Manatsi Major and the man that's been informed, Cosmin Ionoshu, are going to be on row number 2 again. 2 playoff contenders right there and in contention. Got to keep an eye on them as they move their way through the field. We'll throw it back to Ronnie Norman and his Toyota Camry off of the inside of row number 3. Phil Scott will line up alongside in a Ford Mustang. Again, looking for a big point tonight, targeting Cosmin Ionoshu. Row number 4 is going to be that of Garrett Austin, also in the playoffs. This is a phenomenal season that he's been having in his Ford Mustang number 34, alongside of Jason Shoes, number 3, Chevrolet Camaro. We'll move back to the final row inside the top 10, where you'll find Scott Leonard in his Ford Mustang number 19, and Corey Hutchison will round out the top 10 on board the number 21 Ford Mustang.
Then it's Josiah Vincent, who will start at 11 to 9. He was just about a 10th off the pole. Ray Caden the third will start at 12 in the 30 machine. He looks to make the paint scheme pop in front of Ryan Newman. Will start at 13th. Nicholas Coate is down in 14th tonight in the 17 machine. Jeremiah Vincent looks to channel his inner Dale Jr. from 15th, with Ethan Amberg down in 16th position. These drivers, by the way, around here, only a couple of thousand separation just for the couple rows in this teen group. Martin Plute will start in 17th. Nate Cotilla will start in 18th tonight in the 5. Rounding out your top 20, Matt Montembold will start 19th, and Stephen Gibson, the 47, will look to cook from 20th.
Outside the 20, we're going to get back to Jesse Gordon, who's managed to pick up the win thus far in the number 10 Chevy Camaro, alongside of him the 69 machine of Zach Williams in the Ford Mustang. Back to row number 12 is going to be Matt McFadden, who will look to try and put a good Superspeedway performance in here tonight in his Ford Mustang number 22. Terrell Wheeler in the 43 Buckeye scheme to his outside. Back to row number 13, Stacey Hunt will have the inside here in the number 71 Ford Mustang, alongside of Jason Gracias, who will have some work to do. 9/10 off, that looks like that was just a time place down, so he's on the board, maybe looking for survival early on. Stan Hausman on 39 Chevy Camaro will line up alongside of Tim Branson's Chevy Camaro, win the 38 and 90, sorry, my apologies, 39 and 92 machines. Joey Barrett and Caleb Bass are going to round us out with the 97 Chevy Camaro, and the 478 from Caleb Bass is going to bring us to the rear end of the field. 30 entrants here tonight, 15 rows with the NASCAR Cup Series cars. And the first step, we got to get away and get into a rhythm with green flag running, Justin. But survival, there's a lot of playoff drivers that are right up inside that top 10. Oftentimes, though, that's where the early caution comes from.
Potential chaos is always there. You have to be careful, and it depends really on how the field wants to race tonight, Scott. Do they want to keep it calm? Do they want to keep it cool? Or do they run race 3 and 4 wide to start? It's up to the field as we come to the start.
Here we go, moving our way into the starting zone. Field is going to be in the hands of our race starter. Kyle Holden is going to be lining up alongside of Justin Malello. The green flag is in the air. Here we go. 80 laps worth of racing action from Talladega Superspeedway. In the inside lane got a much better launch. It is going to be Kyle Holden, a Manatsi Major, who will lead us off into turn number 1. And here comes the run from Ronnie Norman on that bottom line as well. It is green, green, green. And this is your Highline Diecast Collectibles Speed Cup Series, lap 1 from Talladega. Settle in here, but Justin, no momentum on that outside lane at all. All the early momentum. Looks like a bunch of cars have dropped to that bottom lane early.
Inside line usually gets the better jump majority of the time on these starts and restarts if you're able to group up. That's also with the top line just not getting an energy down. Malillo, despite the pushes, just has nobody going behind the two of them with Cosmin up there. Everybody else has stayed well connected pretty much at the bottom. That's why they lost so much ground. Now they're starting to gain momentum because they've got the triple car tandem working with Vincent Lee in the group. Major wants to lead.
That's a big move early on for Manatsi Major. He's willing to pop out a line to see if he can lead a couple laps. No one going with Kyle Holden, so pole sit up. is going to drop back a little bit. Ronnie Norman's going to try and pick him up now on the bottom lane, and that group immediately slams the door shut all the way back down to the bottom lane. So after leading the bulk of the first lap, Carl Holden goes from first to fifth.
Yeah, that's how quickly the runs can change here if you don't have help, or better yet, you have drivers coordinate up on that top of the racetrack. Just be able to get the tandem together, build momentum. It's a momentum-based package. So if you can't get the numbers immediately squared away, and you're one of those drivers that is having to deal with checkers from behind, it's going to hurt you in the long haul. For now, Holden, I think, going to be contentious to save a bit of fuel. That outside line not as connected as those first couple were to be able to control things up front. So it might take a bit for the energy up top to come back like it just did for that race lead.
Looking about 75% fuel tonight as well. It can be about just over 14 gallons worth of race fuel on board these cars. It just makes me question. I reckon the fuel windows, just with how little pushing is going on at the moment. Look at the separation on everyone in the early running here tonight. I think that's going to be huge as we move our way into this middle section of this race. Fuel is always the critical thing. Have a look at the lap times as well. There's going to be moves 3 wide here at the front end of that outside lane. So there's a lot of bobbling going about. And the other thing I was noticing early on, cars didn't look comfortable with some of the pushes they were getting as well, Justin.
Yeah, right now some of these drivers just have to be careful on those pushes, because if you get anything off center, for example, you can easily turn someone around, get them loose. It's not going to be a fun time if you don't get a square bump. And that's why so many of these drivers have to put down practice just to be able to get a feel where their car is, to be able to help out in lines. You build trust by getting square bumps like this one Philip Scott's receiving. If you're moving up like this, though, trying to block lanes while in the middle of pushes, it can be tricky. It's so hard to line up when you're moving around like the 99 is, going from second to third to second to third and back and forth on the lines.
Start to erode at that trust. Jason Gracias was the one who wanted to jump to that top lane early on. Here comes the 3-issue. Got forced out a little bit. Got to run building. Now Scott's going to try and build the block back on him. But have a look. I didn't expect early on. This to me screams Phil Scott wants a track position. Here comes the 8 machine as well. And Jeremiah Vincent is in a hole in terms of playoff points. Is this how he starts to eke his way back out? Give himself a shot at the championship race in a few weeks' time. We've only got a couple races left after tonight as well. We're at Dega tonight for 80 laps. Next time out, we're 160 laps from Martinsville. That is going to challenge the drivers as well. Big run as well coming to the outside. Keep an eye on that one. 440 laps from Phoenix before we will finish it off with 100 laps for the championship finale November the 6th from Homestead. That is what we've got left to us this season. And, you know, we go from Dega to Martinsville and then Phoenix as well. Phoenix is always a little bit of a question mark. You can never rely on a strong result at Phoenix, but it's definitely a little easier to earn that one than, say, Martinsville or Talladega.
Yeah, absolutely. You see some of the drivers have gotten a bit chippy, though. We've seen 4 wide for a split second pop up. Ooh. And 4 wide can happen here, but it's so difficult to hold on, especially when a squeeze play like this happens. The 69 well up by half a lane. They are lucky that they didn't have any contact in that sequence.
Got away with it. That's the aggression level. That is not common that you see that in the very early runnings of a Superspeedway race. Let me tell you, if this was the last lap, I expect that's coming out. But this early on into a race, going by rather rapidly as well. Already on to lap number 7. So this one is trucking away rather quickly. At the moment, this is the view from second in line of the outside lane. This is the view on board from Nicholas Cope, as he's trying to manage the gap to Jeremiah Vincent. And that is going to trigger the block from a Nazi Major. You just saw the number 82 machine move up and cover up Jeremiah Vincent. Isaiah Vincent is up towards the point as well, and Jeremiah's actually going to duck back to the low line. So he blocked him, and then the run came as well. So there is a lot of exchanging in the early running of this one. Now it'll be the two brothers in the inside line that'll work together as well. If you're going to trust anyone, you would hope that your brother's the best one you can trust in the field, Justin. And look, if you got any family members that go racing, you want them to push you with a Superspeedway?
I don't have any family members that do any racing, but I can definitely tell you, you want your family members to work with you. You don't want to have your family members leave you out for granted at any certain point. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a cut up. There it is from the 4. They're in sync. Those Junior Motorsports or DEI themed paint schemes working well together. Now it's Jeremiah and Josiah 1-2.
Remember, Jeremiah's come from the rear of the field as well. He didn't set himself a very quick qualifying lap, but did register a lap. Now he will lead some of the early running of this one. 9th lap from Talladega. Few issues in the middle of the pack with perhaps some connection issues. Garrett Austin was on the radio just talking about that one. 3 wide back at the back end of the pack, so there's some guys back here that think they can continue to move up to that 3rd lane and make some speed. Keeping an eye on Tim Branson at the moment. Mark McFadden's that 22 machine just in behind him. McFadden's not had the best of seasons. He's looking for a strong result here tonight. Good opportunity to do so. It's survival in the first 10 laps of the race as we do start that 10th lap of the race. Well, I was expecting we might have had an early caution inside that first 10. Commentator's curse, you always feel vulnerable. If a caution now happens, I'm going to feel incredibly guilty here, Justin, but such is the role of the broadcaster.
Yeah, at this point, I think the field is proving to be pretty racy, but a clean racy so far. No major aggressive moves outside of Major trying to block off the lanes, but that's just trying to be the Pied Piper. It's the type of race right now where, quite simply, you want to maintain control, you want to be able to hold things up front. The Vincent's now separated because Jeremiah wanted to control the top, while Josiah wanted to control the inside, and you see that small difference. If you reset and get some side draft to pull some of the drivers back, you get pretty far if you're able to pick up some draft for the front and then tuck back out. The outside line, though, is not cooperating to help out the 8 to be able to keep it even with his brother here. And that's why right now Jeremiah is just slamming cars mid-pack and causing checkups.
Yeah, at the moment, Phil Scott's going to be forced out of line because the checkup was significant in that bottom lane. See if he can't seem to make some speed. Think about pit stops that are coming our way as well. 75% fuel limit means at the moment, without a caution, it's going to be a 2-stopper. So make sure that you get that pit stop and getting a group to come with you to the pit lane as well. As everyone will be starting to think about transitioning towards that point, Justin. But nailing that pit stop at Talladega, very difficult.
Yeah, you're talking about potentially 20 or so laps from now at the latest. Some of the estimates saying for a pit party to pop up here. It's so easy for Calamity to strike. It's not like in real life where you can put the hand out the window and maybe get the spotter over the radio as well, nudge that spotter, say I'm going to come down pit road. You just tap the verbal communication with the drivers itself or the text chat in that substitute. Quite simply though, it's where you have to be able to time things up well when we get to that point for the brakes. If you aren't good at your braking mark, you can either cause yourself time or cause absolute calamity. It looks like, meanwhile, the one machine electing to go to the top. They do not like what they're seeing. They want to go to the back and not be a crash test dummy like the race suit.
That's a good call. That's a good call on that one. Jason Garcias will drop out of line, and he is definitely going to the back. There was a few checkups. I was just keeping half an eye on that inside groove as well. So he's gone to the back. Maybe continuing some of that fuel saving. 30 cars running at the moment, and there is just one of them who has dropped out of the draft. It's Martin Ploot. And let me tell you a little bit of a story about this man, Justin. Don't ever call an Australian a Kiwi. What you do for the rest of the racing season that you've done so is demote yourself to bad luck and karma. And Martin Ploot has had a torrid season, somehow managed to still make his way in a playoff contention, but he will never ever call an Australian a New Zealander, and yeah, I think him running out here and on his own exemplifies that torrid luck that just continues.
I am so confused on the 2 points other than don't call someone from one country compared to the other.
Yeah.
But I will say quite simply, I think that what's going on with him and could happen to anybody because quite simply, back of the field with the way the momentum swing goes, if you have one bad checkup and you just don't maintain enough momentum within 4 or 5 car lengths to cars in front, we could see a couple other people fall adrift the same exact way potentially and be on their own. So quite simply, you can't afford to lose the momentum and can't afford to lose all that energy in terms of speed.
Yeah, 100% right. That is why Martin dropped the back end. So, yeah, Kiwi is New Zealand and Australians. We have a bit of rivalry with our closest island neighbor.
I got that, yes.
Yeah. For the meantime, though, lap 50. Gee, this is just ticking on by. Race pace has been quite quick here today. Look at qualifying. I don't think there's a lot of fuel saving going on out there when that top line's starting to reform back up to the point. People haven't been hanging out in that outside lane today, Justin. They've been just looking to get up there, get the move done, and drop down.
Yeah, might be the simple play here at this point because it's made pretty clear. Although in some previous years, a couple of years ago, in fact, used to be able to be using the high line. Oh, that was a little bit near trouble. Hold on. Jeremiah Vincent just got leaned on by Cal Bass. Bass with some of the air, let's call it, just about turned around the 8. Lucky chance there for the red machine, as that was near chaos, and Gracias is yet again dropping to the back with that.
He's had enough of what he's seeing once again. Time now for another thank you to go the way of the sponsors that keep the lights on here for the Highline Diecast Collectibles Speed Cup Series. Twisted Steel Steak Appeal. Twisted Steel Steak Appeal by Martin Plute has a solid punch of sweet and heat flavor that lingers to let you know it is there. Marty Plute is award-winning Steak Cook-Off Association SCA competition steak cook and has finally revealed his secret resting rub that will blow you away with flavor. Steak, veggies, fish, pork, and poultry. Twisted Steel Steak Appeal is a rub above the rest. And by Beer Street Journal, one of the largest online collections of original content dedicated to covering beer culture, education, and the advancement of the beer industry. With thousands of articles, millions of unique visitors, and exposure in over 200 countries, Beer Street Journal is paving the way to enabling category growth and engaging a broader consumer base and putting better tasting beer for years to come. BeerStreetJournal.com, the best in beer. And without Beer Street Journal working together with people right the globe over, the quality of beer declines. So always a passionate business that continues to promote growth and better drops, and as well. Steak rubs. Steak rubs aren't as big a thing out here in Australia, I'll tell you, Justin. But they're becoming a little bit more of a thing as I start to get involved in spicing up my flavor. Big move though from Josiah Vincent as he jumped out of line, moved to the top side of that one. Got some help, so it's the Vincents back at work again as they lead the top lane. This time, Phil Scott's going to go with them. Have a look at that top group now. Monansi Major on the inside lane, Jeremiah Vincent, Justin Orlo, Cosmin Ionoshu, Phil Scott. All of those guys in playoff contention here tonight. Keep your eyes on the yellow windshield banners on the front end of the cars and the yellow spoiler strake on the rear as well. Will help you spot our playoff contenders. And that was a bad bump right there for Jeremiah Vincent. Hosea is going to chase him up the track as they are trying to make speed at this point in time. And you see the nose of Josiah being poked left and right of Jeremiah right there. I think he's struggling with engine temperatures.
Yeah, one of the things, curiously, some of the drivers too have been posting from the practice session is quite simply, drivers have had a hard time also manage the RPMs while trying to make sure they don't pop the motor. It's right now a balance absolutely here, pushing, because the more you push, the more you overheat. You can push a couple laps per se before you get into panic mode. And there it is right there. Vincent having to let off at the corners, let the car breathe, be able to let the temperatures calm down a little bit, recharge the run a bit before you go back at the push. My concern is too, though, quite simply the lineup just isn't there. He seems to be almost trying to line it up more towards the Chevy mark in his visual view rather than the center of the car, and that's what's really bouncing him around.
Remember, driver sitting on the left-hand side of the car as well, so that viewpoint is offset a little bit lower, so you're not aiming for the center of that car ahead of you. Now it's going to be Major who jumps out of line back up to the top here as well. Phil Scott is going to change positions just in behind Josiah Vince, we're running on board with, so a couple changes in the lane. It was 20 laps complete. We started our 21st circuit. And 1/4 of the race distance is already in the rearview mirror. You talked about coming to this race as well. They are pushing very hard.
Yeah, some of these drivers really knowing that super speedways are a good chance to be able to thrive, possibly. Those are the drivers like Cosman, like Below, love this type of racing when it comes to being able to compete. Oh, we have some drivers scraping the wall back there. Looks like everyone's okay, though, as that got a little bit chaotic with Montalvo trying to run and lead the high line. Garcias and Gordon also stuck back there.
Here comes some more moves at the point as well. Josiah's stuck on this outside lane. Been working with the number 8 machine thus far. Nick Coates back up towards the point of this one as well, and Ethan Amberger's cut his way through the field. Right now, he sits third in line on the outside lane. Car shuffled out. At the moment, it's going to be the 30 machine. That'll be Caton as he gets shuffled to the back as well. I think this is the Vincent's trying to organize to get group back up once again and potentially have a crack at leading the lane. One will come off of 4, and they'll go back easy as they get back through the tri-oval as well. The difference between Talladega and a little bit on just the track layout as well, but it's so critical where that finish line is. Just allows so much more time when we get down to the later stages of, so you can build up that run. A little bit of chatter on the race radio about people moving to the bottom lane there, Justin, as well.
Yeah, especially since they have to think about pit stop soon, so some of these drivers have to think about getting down there. Some of the others more so concerned about getting this third line sorted out here. Senior contact with a couple drivers way up the racetrack. But I was about to say, when it comes to this, these drivers have to think about peeling down within the next 8 laps or so. Based on the fuel burn, some of the drivers are going to be able to go a little bit further. So they better find a way to get down to the bottom in the next few laps, be able to get into the holes, be able to sort themselves out. And that's why we're seeing so many drivers trying to take advantage of the charges. They have lap traffic up high.
Here comes Martin Plouffe back to the pack, and they are 3 wide. So the opportunity to let him in does not really exist at this point in time. He's going to get picked up by the 92 machine of Tim Branson, and he'll add himself to that top line. But before he can do so, he will take a host of momentum away from those cars. Remember, had no support in the high lane at this point in time. They'll reset and start to make some speed once again. They're willing to stay with him a little while longer here as well. Jeremiah Vincent's poked his nose back out into P2. And they're going to get single filed out at the front yet again. Whole set of Kyle Holden shuffled his way back through to 5th. So he is making some speed. Race again. Just bubbles out. I think it's just gone into a little bit more of a holding pattern. That next pit stop is coming. Here comes the run of Josiah Vincent, though. He will move his way back to the point.
Yeah, Jeremiah Vincent, I think, going to be one of the threats over the course of this run by the end of the race if he's able to keep himself out of trouble. Seems pretty smart with his moves, seems to have some help, has some competition when it comes to some of the other competitors here, too, that he's been racing with. been doing a great job, even though so far it's been difficult to get that third line going. Looking like, here we go again, the 4 has a chance to make things a Vincent Motorsports controlled race. They're able to get that run built up here. All that while, though, Major and Malone and company, Armuzzo's also pushing on the other side of the lanes. This is going to be where the balance comes in on how much some of the drivers on the inside want to work with you and are willing to just keep the momentum moving forward, and others are just going to try and fuel save.
Jason Shu just got shuffled out of line. He wandered up fractionally off of turn 3, hole open itself, and the middle groove will shuffle their way through. He's going to get shuffled out from, I think it was 5th at the time. Now he's outside the 20s. He's actually going to get into the barriers on the entry to turn 1 as well. So he gets shuffled to the back. There's last week's winner as well, Jesse Gordon. Don't forget, even though the playoffs are in operation, there's still something to fight for. Best of the rest means that if you're not in playoff contention, you still have skin in the game. And to be honest with you, sometimes that's all you need. Not running for the championship takes those top guys out. Who's the best of what's left over? Sometimes that's more fun than running and competing for the actual championship. The actual championship's got glory. The best of the rest is where the fun is at.
Yes. Drivers are being warned, by the way, on the radio to call that they will come down pit road. So they're going to have to make sure they light up the microphones, let the field know what's going on, because you don't want to end up having a surprise situation where you're peeling on down and you end up causing an incident. So this is where communications coming into play. The 30, by the way, Caden, has started the window. They had lost the draft. Everybody else yet to peel down yet, but expect the party to come.
And I'm just keeping an eye on that. Outside lane is starting to break up as well, because everyone's trying to get to the inside lane. Couple drivers dive on. Who's going to come to pit lane this time by? None of them. So Caden will be the driver who comes the last lap at the end of lap 27 on his own. And now the start of lap number 29. Will this be when we see drivers dive into the pit lane? I just heard the first driver pop up on the road, and it was the guys at the pointy end. It was Jeremiah Vincent in the number 8. He is pitting. Stacey Hanna will be coming as well. And you can see there's going to be a lot more congestion for the bottom end of the racetrack. There is a lot of checking up and down the road as everyone is desperate to get to the bottom of the racetrack. Here we go.
A lot of hands out the window, a lot of calls for pit stops via text right now. That's why I think we're seeing the 53 and the 24 work together, get to the second line. They're going to keep on going for now. They could have actually taken the lead on the cycle themselves if they pit this time. Instead, they'll try and extend their fuel run that extra little bit, try and help their later pit stop. Major and company, all on down. No issues, it looks like, on the entry. Well, I say that the 3's in the wall.
Yeah, Jason Shu didn't have a great pit lane entry. I was seeing him struggle to try and find his way in. There was some stringing out at the tail end. I take a look through the roster, though. No black flags for speeding on pit lane entry, so it looks like it was a clean entry. Here comes Malolo and Holden. They will be coming this time by. They've got a little bit of... Sorry, it's Malolo and Ionoshu, my apologies. Joey Barrett, Caleb Bass, Zach Williams, Stephen Gibson, Ryan Newman, Garrett Austin. That's the group of cars who come into the pit lane. What's the race off of pit lane look like? It looks like it's Gordon who's gotten his way through to the front of this one. And indeed it is. Ethan Amberg from Carl Holden, Minardi Major, your top 4 in that group. Nicholas Coate will round out 5. 3 cars connected at the front. Here comes the second group of cars to pit lane. Issues at the front end. Have all managed to at least keep their races alive. How's the penalty situation? Black flag, Jason Shu speeding on pit lane entry. Garrett Austin's got himself a black flag as well.
By the way, that was Zach Williams who went streaking through in that situation. Just about wiped out the field, had to hook a hard lap to avoid slamming anybody else into the braking. Very thankful, I think, the field is there. They didn't collect anybody in that situation, but the rest of the field here gonna be interesting where they cycle. Malo actually lost ground and nearly makes contact. Yep, Cosman also who lost a bit of ground, so despite being the first off pit road, first couple cars in are not the first ones out, as here comes the choo-choo train.
First cars with speed. Jesse Gordon's at the lead of this one. It was Amberg that went with him. Here comes the check coming back onto the racetrack. Bass did not see them coming. That takes so much momentum away from Ethan Amberg, and the field will scatter. They all managed to survive. Quick apology on the radio from Bass. Nick Cote manages to scythe his way through to fourth. Minardi Major, Carl Holden. So there were 4 cars that got away. That entire pack rejoins. How about the next pack that is trying their hardest? They need to maintain momentum here. Vincent's have reconnected to the lead pack. So we've got a pack of 15. Then we've got another pack from 16th all the way through to 22nd as well. The field is scattered. The field is split. First pit stop, first major moments of the race.
Yeah, that was a bit of a decision in terms of that blend, to say the very least. Some of the air replays here coming through as the Vincents were working together right there. Bass said quite simply he didn't see him in the mirror. But you have to figure that cars are coming. That was near calamity for the entire lead pack. Good heads up by Gordon and company to see that that move was coming so quick. And as a result, you would expect Bass shuffle to 13th. Jesse Gordon, who is running mid-pack before the pit stops, now up front. Is once again, here's the look again. He has the ability to go up, doesn't lift off the throttle, but does take the cut to the outside, obviously.
Takes turns. Yeah, that takes turns. He barely lifted. Great driver, great wreck avoidance, great awareness from everyone. Couple penalties to talk about. Tim Branson got himself a penalty. He had to come back to pit lane. Jason Shue also got one. Garrett Austin got one as well. I think Austin's was for pit lane exit speed. I'm fairly confident Branson's was for pit lane exit, unsafe pit lane exit, crossing onto the racing surface earlier than you're allowed to. Because a few of those guys had to come back down to pit lane, and it's cost them significantly. Driver that's going to get dropped by the field at this point in time. Really important to note. They're about to pick him up and go thundering by. That is Garrett Austin in the number 34 Ford Mustang in the outside lane. Playoff contention, and now he's 1 lap down. He is relying on a caution here, Justin.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to be hard to get that caution flag with the way things are going so far. 15 in the main pack. By the way, your points as they run on screen. Cosman, well, doing Cosman things, scoring solid points. Major, though, with him running up front most of the race, doing a great job to help out his point situation. Gets it to a -2 as we run. But of course, a lot can change over the course of a race here at Talladega. It is going to be, I think, pretty stable for now. It doesn't seem like it's going to be racy like earlier on. I think this is where things calm down a little bit here, Scott. And we see the drivers just maintain a line and work together in the bottom choo-choo train.
Set, everyone lining up. Quickest way around the racetrack. Keep putting speed. I guarantee you that racing will go up a notch after the final pit stop. Well, how far did we go? 28 laps for the bulk of the field, 29 laps for a few that were able to make it. That gets us through until end of lap 56 or the end of lap 58, which will set us up for the run home. I can tell you Martin Plout starting to cut his way back through the field, as he's also gone to that lap down. He desperately wants to be in the lucky dog position should the worst happen at this point in time. Another car about to go 1 lap down. Another driver that had issues on pit lane will be Arabia Caton. Remember, he came several laps and he's been circulating for several laps out on his own. Speed dropped off. He's now being caught and passed and put 1 lap down. So we're already starting to see those early issues affect the field. And that's a big hole, I think, for Garrett Austin as well. He's got some work to do.
Yeah, Austin, at this point, I think, again, needs absolute luck, as you were saying. Quite simply, you're hoping that you get the lucky dog, go from there. You need to pass the 30, then get around Branson here as they come up to him pretty quickly. Get yourself at least in a position in case there's a caution to be able to take advantage. So quite simply, it's about just hoping for luck. And for Austin, that's what happens when you pick up a speeding penalty or any sort of penalty around here. There was something Larry McReynolds said earlier today that rings true here today, Scott. If you get caught speeding, you can most likely kiss your chances of the win goodbye.
Track position, multiple factors in that one as well. Track position, strategy position, you got to throw caution to the wind. Get back to the point. Here comes Tim Branson. Documented his issues on pit road as well. He'll swing to the outside and fall one lap down, which means we are now looking at 25 cars on the lead lap. Let's talk about the groups that are running out there at the moment. This is our lead group that we have on track all the way back to 15th, includes a couple of the lapped cars. About 3 of them at this point in time, in Martin Plute, Tim Branson, Garrett Austin. Sorry, my apologies, it includes 4. Arabia Caton's in that group as well. Then we drop back to the second pack. Starts from 16th place, Philip Scott. These guys have got some work to do, and Corey Hutchison is going to be the engine on this train. This shorter pack runs us from 16th back to 22nd, and there's going to be a moment in the middle of this pack. Sten Hausman swings to the outside. Ryan Newman's going to try and pick up some spots as well, and Stacey Hunter. So, an 8-car pack trying to make some speed, but having some issues. Then we fall back to this little group. 3 cars all working together. They're going to have not a lot of momentum going their way. Also relying on a caution. Zach Williams, Terrell Wheeler, and Nate Catilla in this one. 23rd through 25th. It looks like 3 major packs out there on the racetrack. That second pack, they look like they're having issues, Justin. They've got to get their act together if they want to catch the lead group.
Yeah, their speed right now is actually dead even to the lead pack. 50.3s, just like the front group. So quite simply, it all starts with Hutchinson. He needs to get on the bumper. He needs to push the 99. He needs to carry the speed a lot more quicker than what they are. Get it up to more around 195 down the straightaways and try and do something there. Stay on the bumper as much as he can hooked up. Then it also requires McFadden to get a little bit closer, be able to keep things close. Right now, McFadden preferring to keep a half car length cushion. It's not helping out their case right now to even close up the gap as a whole. It takes a lot of effort from everybody in this pack if they want to close. And that time by, just with some of that effort with the 21 starting to push, they started to gain a little bit of ground compared to the leaders. They just have to do that basically the entire rest of the run to have any chance of picking up the draft.
So they didn't, you're right, they didn't make a lot of speed. So good opportunities here as we get into this middle run. By the way, coming to the back end of lap number 39, which means, sorry, my apologies, leaders were on lap 40 already. I was tracking myself based upon some of the lapped cars in that pack. Half race distance as we cross this line right here. Half complete, half to go. 1 pit stop in both of the halves. Pit stop in the second half of the race will come a fair bit earlier than it did in the first half. Altogether though, Justin, no cautions in 40 laps. Field's done a great job today, considering some of the moments that we've had. You'd have to say good, clean driving from everyone out there.
Yeah, very clean all throughout the race, as you would expect here tonight. A lot of these drivers that I've seen here in this field usually do well on super speedways, are very comfortable on super speedways in general, usually have the talent to shake and bake. And quite simply, it's been showcased here tonight. They've had the speed and the ability to be able to keep it clean and work together here. Now the main thing's going to be, once we get towards the end of the race, would stay clean. That's going to be the harder part of that. When you have points on the line and the win on the line, how dicey that's going to get.
Yeah, massively changes, doesn't it, in the back half of the race. But I think at the moment, you take a look at a fair few of these cars and you just think, you know, they're setting themselves up. Talk to me about who you've got picks on at the moment, who you think's doing a great job, who's trying to set themselves up, who's fuel saving. Where do you think this is going over the next 20 or so laps?
Well, right now, based on the fact Jesse Gordon's been able to time things up well, I think he's going to be really good to be able to try and keep command. He's gotten to work with Kyle Holden here this run, for example. I think he's going to be someone to keep an eye on here. He's going to have to pit about a lap or two earlier compared to some of the errors, though. That's going to be the thing. So he will likely be in a point of disadvantage for a little bit for the final run to the checker flag. Who I think's in a great spot, though, is Major. Just quite simply in terms of points scored, just quite simply in terms of his ability to block off the lanes while choosing when to block in general. He's been very decisive on his decision making, and it's helped him here tonight to be able to keep up at the front. He's going to have a choice to make here in a moment. He's getting left out to dry. In fact, the outside's coming up.
Here comes that speed, though. Nick Code is going to try and lead the barrage on the outside. And Joey Barrett's going to be going with him. As is Ethan... Sorry, yeah, it is Ethan Amberg in that third seat on the outside. Malello is going to go with them as well. I was just looking back through the season thus far. First Superspeedway of the season back in Atlanta Motor Speedway. Justin Malello finally cracked the egg that he had in season results. You know who won back at Daytona? Was Cosmin Ionoshu. How about that for a number of drivers that have shown their speed over the season? But the names that keep popping up at the top: Manazzi Major, Ronnie Norman, Ethan Amberg, all of these guys up and in the standings. How about Mark McFadden's best result of the season? He was 10th back at Daytona on August 21st. At this point in time, it's ratcheting up the lead pack going into a two-wide situation. These guys have saved enough fuel, I reckon, Joe. Speed.
Yeah, right now this is going to help out Gordon to be able to save, as said. But here's the major thing. All this is starting to actually kick the speed up a little bit. You know why? Sometimes with the side-by-side, it kicks up the energy, pushes everyone to have to go harder. And in general, these cars sometimes just like to go side-by-side like this, have a little bit of battling amongst them, to be able to turn up that wick a little bit compared to just running single file and having a bunch of checkups. There goes Major as expected. Was waiting to see when he would go up there when the opening happened there. Now he's got some help to be able to try and work to the front yet again and be able to control this race once more.
Oh, a few moments right there. I think Ethan Amberg's engine might have just expired. As he drops all the way to the back end of this pack, did he slot back in? No, his engine's done for the day. So Ethan Amberg's engine has expired, unfortunately, as he runs down the back straightaway. There will be a mechanical black flag. He'll be forced to return to the pit lane. That is going to be the first retirement of the day. And for Ethan Amberg in playoff contention, could that be championship run over?
Yeah, that's going to be a huge swing, and quite simply, it becomes a question, what were the temperatures at? Obviously, one of the major things iRacing does to make sure people don't steal people's temps and, you know, sabotage, is they don't report on what the temperatures are to our drivers. I'm curious what those gauges were at for Amberg to have it pop just like that. He wasn't pushing. He actually had a buffer of air in between them, was trying to let the car breathe, and it just let go. Quite simply, I think he was either bit too high on the RPMs, or better yet, just was too high in temps for pushing to get into that spot, and the engine was too far up on the percentages and just popped.
I think I heard him on the radio say 290. There it goes, and that's right in front of Justin Malello. Well managed by the whole group, by the way. That could have been a huge one. Normally when you see an engine go, that's where you see a lot of good cars, and a lot of good cars right in that region. Speaking of Justin Malello, he's now pushing to the front, and Cosmin Ionoshu goes with him. So they're going to push a long way clear at the head of the bottom line as well. They had some serious speed, and they turned up the wicker right when they needed to. Now the pace is going to come back to them.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, I think
that as well?
Yeah, I think these drivers are getting close to blowing up. If they're getting to the point where they're pushing so hard, they're about to pop the motors here, they're going to have to back off here, slow down the pace. It's so important to maintain the equipment as we've seen for the engine tonight. And for a lot of these drivers, they got to make sure they keep up with those gauges here so they don't end up in the red zone.
Well, huge push means that you've got a hot engine. So now they're taking the opportunity to let themselves cool back off once again. Nazi Major pops back up to second in the queue in the outside lane. 49th lap of the evening as well, which means we are starting to head towards the run to home. Pit windows will close at the end of 56, and that is about 8 laps away.
Yeah, that pit party going to be very busy. I'm expecting the majority of the drivers to be aiming for 20 to go, give themselves a bit of a runaway towards the end of the tank. But then at that point, we might see drivers take 2 tires and less fuel in the tank, possibly, Scott. Try and save a little bit of time in the pit lane. That may be a part of the difference. And that's where coordination amongst your fellow competitors is going to be critical. Figure out what's the right way to go. How many clicks of fuel should I have? Like 13 gallon, like 10, anything along those lines. And that's where that fuel calculator is going to be so critical that iRacing provided about now near a year ago to allow you to figure out how much fuel you exactly need based on the fuel burn.
Also think about the timings as well. Can you get it beneath that second can of gas? Can you only stick 1 can of gas in it to make it to the end? That'll be the critical number that we're trying to avoid. A little bit of a gain right on that second can. Have a look at McFadden, who's moved his way to the point of this second group as they try and make some speed. Lost some speed on the last lap by 50.5 at the head of this group. Big shot to McFadden. McFadden goes for a ride through the infield. Is he going to rejoin safely? Yes, he does. Big shot from Corey Hutchinson, was trying to get him closer to Phil Scott, trying to generate some speed. Sends the 22 to the back end of this second group. That is more speed they've cost themselves, though. That is time. It is not going in the right direction for Phil Scott in second group.
Yeah, 3 seconds lost from the past few laps alone here. This pack is just not working together at all right now, and it, at this point, is done so unless they get a caution flag from here. They just are not doing what they need, especially with the pack up front, turning up the speed by 3/10 as of late. You're just not going to close up unless you figure out something. There's just not enough cars and not enough coordination with what they're doing back here.
I see the change for the lead in this second pack as well. Phil Scott gave it up, and he's gone to try and push. If it wasn't working, maybe it's time to change something a little bit different. We'll see if Newman can close and try and find some speed for the second pack. 1.5 seconds lost on the most recent lap. 1.1 to 1.2 on the previous lap as well. So they are going backwards. Back to the lead point. Lead pack at this point in time. Still too wide. Joey Barrett's going to get up here and try and run his way to the front. Settle into this outside groove. We're trying to put... It's just, again, the race has just sort of taken that little... It come up to a boil and back to a simmer.
Yeah, you see that right there. At this point, got to start planning at this mark. You might see a couple drivers say, I might be able to just take position up at the front, gain some track position for the pit entry, be able to help myself for later on. But for now, I think, again, more safer, just run the bottom, think about your strategy. You know that entry is coming up here. Get it aligned and figure it out. That's why Norman nearly forced it in. Had to back out of his cut to the inside, trying to fall behind the 97. But right now, all this is with, quite simply, field just try to figure out where they can make those inroads for when they have that entry in a couple laps time, because after that point it's game on to see if you can race for the win.
28 of Montembeau is going to start trying to push Garrett Austin in this outside groove. So remember, lap cars in this pack. 81 machine. Martin Plouffe amongst them. Trying to see what they can do. Tim Branson's also at the back end, but he's in the bottom lane. Caleb Bass drops to the lower line now as well. So losing speed, they're losing cars from this top lane. This seems like cars setting themselves up for that final pit stop and thinking about when they can dive off. And you don't want to get caught napping. That's the big thing. If somebody decides to go early and take 5 or 6 cars with them, you kind of got to go.
Yeah, it might force the hand here a little bit of some of the drivers, but it really is dependent on... Oh, hold on! The 5 getting sent down to the inside. That was ugly on the checkup. Great save by Nate. Was very lucky he got a break for the rest of this pack, as it is not going good for these drivers. They will likely be lapped by the end.
At the moment, they're about 10 seconds up ahead of the race leaders, so Nate Kinsella on board with the number 5. You just watch, he starts to push on, makes a little bit of speed. And there's the bump that sends him down to the apron. Manages to hang on to it and continue his race at least. Fully time bump though, unsettling the car. Lap 56 now for the race leaders. This is about the estimated pit window. I just heard Arabia Caton on the radio. He's coming to the pit lane already for his final stop of the day. They're going to go through one more time. So a lot of these drivers have saved more fuel than they did in that opening run.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily they've saved more fuel. It's just quite simply they're not at the lap 30 mark yet. So they aren't getting close to that window here. We have had drivers pit like Jason Chu, who, by the way, just wrecked the pit road. That second pack just had pit calls, though. We have a bunch of calls over the radio now, Scott. It's about to get busy.
Not hearing any of our lead pack call. I just heard one of the... Basically, that entire third pack is going to come to pit lane this time by. So my apologies, second pack. It will be the second pack. Drivers Rory Hutchison, Phil Scott, Ryan Newman, Scott Leonard, Mark McFadden, Stan Hausman. Coming to pit lane this time by. Zach Williams just threw a message in the in-race server. He's coming to pit road, which means the third pack will be on their way out. What does the pit entries look like for Phil Scott? Just a couple breaks. Hutchison was speedy on the way in. Looks like he maintains. Do they get into their stalls nice and easy? Fairly casual pit lane entry for pack number 2.
No major panics there, as pack 3 also comes down after the chaos a couple laps ago. And everyone taking it very conservative this time. Will that impact the next wave? Because they're charging in 2. 3 wide on entry.
Nick Coates going to take the lead of the pack on entry. Major just barely gets it pulled up. He's to the inside of Jesse Gordon. Kyle Holden's in there as well. Ronnie Norman, Stephen Gibson, and Caleb Bass, the group from that first pack. But the pack split this time. Justin Malillo, Cosman, Ionoshu, they went long on the first run. They took Joey Barrett with them. And here comes the pit lane calls for the remainder. Jason Shu for speeding on pit lane entry. He'll pick himself up a black flag. And that looks to be the only one. I've got to tell you, it's been successful pit lane entries today.
Shows the skill set for these drivers here tonight. But yet again, going long, Malone and Cosman, they got a lot more drivers in their convoy this time.
Trouble, Barrett! Joey Barrett spotted into pit lane, spins the outside. He collected the barrier, ended up back on the racetrack. That'll be an unsafe entry. That will be a penalty for the 97. And the Mountain Dew car was in a strong spot today. That has now gone right away from him, and he will tumble through the results on the final pit stops of the day. He had it all locked up, all sideways, Justin, and that's just the thing. You're on the anchors, you slap it through the gear, and then the rear end locks up.
Absolute trouble. That could have been much worse than what it was with that angle in Calamity Corner. That's a reactionary situation where you have to get on the brakes, hope for some luck, Garrett Austin definitely lucky that the Gold Octopus Motorsports machine didn't get destroyed there, but he did take some damage hitting the 8.
Everyone lucky to walk away with that one. Greatest save of the year, potentially right there on final pit stops from Talladega. Who got a great stop? Who got away? Jason Gracias has the race lead at this point in time, but he's not got any momentum. And there's some lapped cars that feed into this one. Couple cars at the point, it took fuel only. And critically, Garrett Austin gets his way back onto the lead lap as he's sitting ahead of Jason Gracias. What does the chasing pack do? This is lapped cars. Zach Williams, Stacey Hunter, Nate Cotilla, Tara Wheeler. Here comes the race leaders that are going to poke their nose out to the outside. So we're going to see Gracias get boxed in. Malello and Cosmonai and Oshu are going to come roaring to the point, but there are lapped cars, and they want their lap back. Their race hinges on this. 3 wide at Talladega on lap 61. Can they go around the outside? Can they take back that race lead? Here comes the 81 of Plute that's going to go with them as well.
And once again, those FTM drivers able to hook up and work together. Cosman able to slam the door. This is still going to require getting around this lap traffic quickly. These lap cars aren't playing easily in the heart of the pack. 2, 3 different lanes, traffic jams as a result of the lappers, and they are going to have to start spreading them.
And they've got to figure themselves out and do it right now. Plute is trying to lead the outside lane. He's got assistance from Kyle Holden. Holden wants the best of the rest championship. He's not had the season. He's out here for some glory of his own. Had a reasonable run of the first half of the race. How about Jeremiah Vincent? He's in a hole on points. This is important to him. Cotilla has a bobble off of the corner. We're under 20 to go, and the aggression level starts to ratchet up. Nick Cote nearly got turned off the nose of Gibson as well. And is there going to be somebody else who sends it up to the top 3 wide? Hosea Vincent thinking about it. He's thinking about shoving the nose in there. Can he get some support? No, he can't. The 4 will drop back in. Look at the damage. Is that damage on the front end of the 4 as well?
Yeah, this is getting a little bit chippy, and this is what you expect when everybody can make it on fuel in theory. You expect to see the intensity ramp up. You expect to see drivers to get more aggressive. You expect to see a lot more blocking. Triple, how about a quadruple car tandem on the outside? A little bit dicey when you get 4 cars in a pushing group, but that's got to be how you get some of this momentum going. Get the outside going, then peel back that inside with the side draft.
And we'll have to watch and wait as this one starts to build. Here comes lane number 3 again. And Stacey Hunter's going up there, assisted by Kyle Holden. Kyle Holden not afraid to push lapped cars to the point at this point in time. That's the 2nd time he's done that. Ronnie Norman moved up with them as well. And now Amberg's going to split them down the middle and maintain some momentum. So it does that 3rd lane start to build a run. We'll come to the start-finish line. We will tick off 1 more lap, and it's 17 to go from Talladega. And the championship, the implications of everything that's unfolding right here. Drivers that want glory. Last super speedway race of the season. They're in it for themselves. Garrett Austin moves back to the point, and the reason he does that, he's back on the lead lap. That was critical, but the number 8, Jeremiah Vincent, he needs points, and he needs a lot of them to score his way into a championship finale. He will cover the inside line now as well. Nick Cote goes to the lead of the outside. This is changing straight by straight, corner by corner. 1 lane pushes through to the point. Garrett Austin pokes the nose out again. There's just not a point. This is not going to settle down. I think we're just going to see that outside lane rattle to the point, drop in, rattle to the point. I think that's the race we're going to see to the end, Justin.
Yeah, this is not looking like it could last here with the way things are going. Williams bouncing off cars. They've got to be careful here. They've got to be smart. You cannot afford to get so aggressive that you end up costing yourself here. I know you need to make the moves, but quite simply, this is where you have to be very tactical on your decision making. You make the wrong move, you cost yourself the race. There's still a couple laps before things get extremely desperate. So I think that's just quite simple here, Scott. You have to plan the chess pieces for here to help yourself to try and win the race when it gets to the point where everyone's going to scramble with 5 laps to go. Good move by Maluo, for example, working with the 24, get himself to the front.
Garrett Austin wants to get back up here so he can get his lap back. Jeremiah Vincent wants to lead that lane. How about Jesse Gordon and Nick Code in that outside lane? Never at the moment pushing Garrett Austin. And they want Austin up there just to break things up, disrupt it a little bit. Here comes the move from Vincent. He's going to take Jason Gracias with him as well. And here's the block from Malello. Comes back to the bottom lane. Tried to shut the momentum down. He's going to need a huge shot from Cosmonai and Oshu. Now 15 to go. The intensity's lifted. The amount of aggression has come up massively. The difficulty is we got 14 more laps to go at the end of this one. Can they make it to the finish without a yellow flag? Can we go green flag from coast to coast on this one?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to come down to how things go here. And we have drivers already up top. Barrett, we don't hit the wall. Gonna let everybody go. Big blocks inside, big runs outside. We have cars going on the apron 4 wide.
Cars on the fence and behind. There were a couple cars that were in the fence, and here they go. Was that the 4 machine? I think it was. No, it's the 478 of Caleb Bass. No caution at this point in time. Joey Barrett's involved as well, as is Stacey Hunter. Stacey Hunter's got a wheel off on board the 71 machine. Stacey Hunter's day will be done. No yellow flag had flown. And that changed in moments.
Wow, oh wow, is all you can say. Let's take a look at this again. Yeah, watch the 4. Once was down at the bottom, but the situation that he gets checked up. Remember, the apron just got hooked up together once they got offset with the 4 trying to check up at the bottom. Gets hooked down and ends up sliding around. He and Bass both in pit road. The race is done, and that has not really broken up the pack. If anything, the intensity still is up high. Gracias is going for the lead.
This is just not going to stop. They're just going to continue dogfighting for everything that they've possibly got. You're right. Gracias went for the lead. But here comes the FTF team, guys, and Jesse Gordon trying to go with them. He could sense the move was going to come as soon as they got clear to shoot back to the bottom. How about Montembeau in the 28 machine, second in line in the outside lane? He's in with a shot to win this one. He'd love to chalk up a victory. He's had pace. He's run inside the top 10 for large portions of this season. He would love to finish the season with a victory if he could. But there are several cars at this point that are looking capable of denying him. There's about 8 to 10 cars in this top group that are phenomenal pushers, phenomenal speed that can steal this one, Justin. And as we close in on 10 to go, where do you look to pick a winner? Because those 2 FTF cars are superb on the bottom at the moment.
I mean, for me, that's where I'd be making a pick right now, just with the fact they've been glued together. It's been quite clear. The goal is help Maluo, who always races hard, always tries to fight hard for victories. He's a battler, to say the least. Already a one-time winner this season, Maluo is this season. Help his points case. Cosman already had the buffer. It'd be the first win since Atlanta if Maluo can get the edge. So that's where that instinct comes in. But for everybody else, guess who's joining the fray again? Jesse Gordon, once again, and the HBM car is getting some coordination together here, coming to 10 laps to go to try and make things aggressive. It's gonna, you might have to separate Cosman and Maluo if you want a true chance to be able to win this race right now, because all the other partnerships haven't spread.
And Gracias gets shoved a long way out in front. He's going to have no momentum. He'll go back to the point. But this is also an opportunity for Jesse Gordon. If he can stick with these guys, which is what he's trying to do, and he's broken them up. That's huge. He's separated Malello and Cosmonai and Oshu. That changes everything. And now Malello's going to go back to him, try and grab that support. He got that one just in time as well. Montembeau is going to go with the FTF drivers on the outside. And the race changes once more. Gracias now forced into a position where he's forced to support Jesse Gordon, but that inside line has been where everyone wants to be. And now they've got speed down there as they push clear.
Yeah, this is going to just, at this point, just switch up the different lanes of the battle, right? Right now, things getting a little bit tight with some of the wash up, though. Some of these drivers having a hard time holding on to the wheel as these cars start to wash up and these tires start to lose a little bit of grip. There's Malou able to break things up now. They split the two, but they are now controlling each of the lanes. That might be more important unless you can get in front of Cosman.
Jeremiah Vincent picked up a spot in the background as well. He shoved the nose 3 wide on Nick Coe. Moves himself 1 spot up in that inside lane. There is a gap forming between the grooves as well. At the moment, there is a little bit of room. It's considered cheeky early on in the race, but what would you do for a race win at the back end of this one? Racing's been brilliant thus far. 72 laps complete, all of them under green flag conditions. 2 green flag pit stops here in the Highline Diecast Collectibles Speed Cup Series from Talladega. Playoffs is the story of the evening. And Jeremiah Vincent came into tonight's race on the back foot. A win to him makes a case that he should be there for playoff contention in the championship race from Homestead. There will be 2 more to go in the playoffs after tonight. Next week, Martinsville. You've got to count on your lucky stars to keep a clean car from the shortest flat track of them all. And then to Phoenix. It has its last real-world championship for a while, coming to us in 2025. And then it's on to next year's championship race to be the decider from Homestead, Miami. 3 races to go after tonight. Book your ticket to the finals, but only if you can point your way in. Think about that as the drivers circulate here. That puts pressure on the drivers too, Justin. And for Jeremiah, he has to make moves.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be for him. If he wants a shot, he's got to find a way to be able to get off the bottom of the racetrack. Right now, that's the thing. If you're Jeremiah Vincent, there's no place to go. There's no holes to dive into. There's no places to cut. If anything, you have to work with some of the drivers. Some of the lappers are getting uber aggressive here. Not sure what the 81's doing here, going up to the 3rd line like that, and now blocking cars.
Blocks to the middle at the same time that Jeremiah Vincent tried to move up. There was nearly side-by-side contact. We are 5.5 laps from home. The aggression has continued to accelerate. Blute is not lifting as he moves to the outside lane. Once again, there's the wreck. Garrett Austin's involved. The 34 machine rolling down the track. Are we not going to get a yellow here? We may not.
Now we do.
And the yellow flag is out. We are going to have 5 to go as the caution comes out. This is going to be a short sprint. This ratchets up. This is just the fairy tale that was building.
I think that was right at the time of the randomized caution window closing. Remember, there is that potential factor we haven't touched upon tonight because, well, we haven't thought about it with all the crazy racing. Quite simply, this changes the equation on how you go for things, and those lap cars were making it clear they wanted a battle for this lucky dog. 4 wide coming out of turn 4. Never good when you have that bit of a squeeze.
That's Jeremiah Vincent with the aggression as well. Like we said, he needs to press for a case. How about the guys that hung on to the lead lap as long as they did? They're now back in the equation. We have 17 cars on the lead lap. And I do wonder who got that lucky dog. Martin Plute was registered as the car in position, but did he get contact? How about the shot for Garrett Austin into the outside barrier? That was a heavy lick as well.
Yeah, at this point you see Austin did leave a little space up there, but you don't expect someone to fit it underneath there. Yeah, caution came out after he was off the racing surface, and I know that's causing a little bit of discussion on the radio. But now, couple lap dash, this is about to get wild here for this finish, and Gracias doesn't feel comfortable on fuel.
He's going to come to pit lane. Yeah, that changes things for him. So he's going to go to the back. Just watch it. Still waiting for who got the lucky dog. Again, Martin Plut's in position to receive it. Was it not awarded? Indeed, here it comes. It is Martin Plut. Plut was clean. He did get through the red clear. So the 81 will move his way back to the lead lap. 18 cars to start this caution on the lead lap. And I believe we are going to be going back to green flag racing with an in-regulation green-white checkers. There will be 2 to go. This changes everything. Absolutely changes everything. If you're at the back, you're now in with a shot to win. If you're at the front, this is the worst thing you wanted to see. You had a tight-knit group. The worst, if you kept a clean car to the finish, you were going to finish just about inside the top 10. Wasn't much further you could slide back. But the aggression levels, managing this restart, Justin, where do you think the winner comes from now?
Now, quite simply, this can go a lot of different ways here. Cosman, with everything going the way it's gone here in this race, he's in a prime position to pounce here. The points have now, with everything going the way they are, shuffled back to Major's decimation to Cosman's advantage. I don't think Cosman stays up here for the very end for the win, though. Quite simply, could get ditched coming up to turn 4. This run can come anywhere. That's what I'm trying to emphasize here, and it's going to come down to when you feel like the run's coming in, when you have the momentum build up for the outside line. I think the move comes from the middle. You don't do it from the 3 wide.
So it's going to be get the speed and build it. And the other thing is, green-white checker, it takes a lap and a half to build that momentum to get that run going as well. So it's going to be a short sprint to be in position. If you don't get a good restart here, you're going to take a long, long time. Have a look at the points buffer, though. Phil Scott is back in position to move in and maintain second in the championship. Monazzi Major is dead even on points at this point in time. He can only go forward a maximum of 5 spots. He will restart the outside 3rd. In 6th, as the light goes off, we will go green flag at the end of this lap. There will be 2 laps to go. Malello's in championship contention now as well. He's pushed his case further forward.
Yeah, I think that's why that Malello's been working so hard to try and get this win, helping his championship hopes, work with Cosman for that. But how does that alliance play out now at the very end? Expect them to stay connected, I think, to try at least get one of them to win here pretty soon. It's going to get wild with Montembeau for the first time early up front here, too, in his Toyota.
3 Toyotas from the front end of the field. Then it's a wall of Chevys as well. I know she was going to restart from the outside lane. He chooses the outside. He will restart in front of teammate Justin Malello. The work together between those 2 drivers today is going to be difficult to break up. The 10 of Jesse Gordon has been aggressive here today, as has Jeremiah Vincent. Just heard on the in-race radio as well, the number 1, the reason to pit lane, damage. Unfortunately for Jason Gracias is why he came to pit lane. Ryan Newman, by the way, moves his way all the way up to 11th. There is an opportunity for the 15 to crack inside the top 10 today as well.
This is going to get wild, is all I can really say. Will they be able to keep it clean to the very end? They need to get to the white flag quite simply. Montembeau needs to get himself moved up here. He isn't lined up where he needs to be to get a decent start here.
A green flag is going to come out from Talladega Superspeedway. The green-white checker is in operation, and there is a jump start for Justin Malello on that outside groove. Is it 4 wide? I just heard 4 wide at the back end of the field. No, my apologies. My apologies. It was a clear penalty for what? And it looks like Malello's going to slot back in. Manazzi Major's dropped into third. Here comes Matt Montembeau. He slots back to fourth. Here comes the run as well. To the outside of Jesse Gordon is Stephen Gibson. The side draft will stall him out. And the run into 3 and 4 here, Justin. That outside lane is built.
Yeah, the outside isn't being built quick enough, though. It's got some cars, but they aren't getting enough momentum yet. It's going to take until the back straightaway to do something. Coming up to the white flag right here.
And it's the Beer Street Journal white flag. As we begin lap 80 of 80, this race is official. Here comes Manazzi Major, who will move to the outside as they enter 1 and 2. Cosmonino throws the block. There's a wreck in the background. There's cars going around. Zach Ratzias, he got his way nearly back up to the point. Jeremiah Vincent collected him. The field will scatter. There's no momentum on the side of Justin Malello. He has got Matt Montembeau working with him. Gibson gets to the inside, pushes all the way down the back straightaway. Manazzi Major gets Cosmonino loose. Here comes Jesse Gordon in the 10. Malello's going to try and squeeze him up. He just barely gets clear. Gordon is forced to go with him at this point in time. The run to the flag. Iron had dominated in the regular season. Can he take the win at Talladega? Major to the outside. What has Gibson got? Major's going to get blocked. Major cuts it low, they'll bang, they'll beat, and Cosmonino will win from Talladega.
How about that? Was able to hold off all the moves. The 47 said it's not worth the incidents as everybody destroys their cars at the end. Good effort by Cosman. Great job blocking off all the lanes.
Got the run, had the lead, but he had to block as the support petered out. It was some wicked blocking. You know what? Manazzi Major, how's this for sportsmanship? Wicked block, Cosman, good win. It was an aggressive block, but if you want to win on the high banks, the super speedways of Talladega, not only do you have to push well, not only do you have to be a good teammate, but when it comes down to the green-white checker, you have to block as well. The season has been phenomenal for Cosman Ionoshu, and he will chalk up another victory and extend the points margin as we head towards the end of the playoffs and that championship race. He is looking set to just about punch his ticket. It's not done yet for the driver of the 24, but he is going to celebrate this one all the same. Victory from Talladega and the Highline Diecast Collectibles. Cosman Ionoshu has gone on a tear. Another one. What can't he win this season, Justin? That drive from the pair of those guys today, that was supreme the way they worked together.
Not surprised when it comes to their coordination. Teamwork, making everything work well tonight for them. And quite simply, see why they have fun here on the super speedways here, to say the very least.
They're burning it down, and we're going to get a replay here. And I'll elect to go with your experience in breaking this final lap down. This was chaos, but controlled chaos.
Yeah, you see right now that outside trying to build momentum, but right there, have to take the opportunity to see if he can get the outside. Major tried it, and Cosman knew if he didn't block things out of the middle of the quarter, things could break up. All while the back of the pack, it all stacked up as a result of things going wild there. Garcia's amongst those who got the worst of it, but as things split apart, it just became that 3-car breakaway, and Cosman just had to basically block off whoever got the biggest run.
Entering 3 and 4, how about Jesse Gordon? You saw the contact with him and Jeremiah Vincent, and that block from Justin Malello. He just barely got that one in time. Any later than that, and he goes around off the nose of the 10. They fan out as they come to the line in that pack of 8. And again, multiple blocks from the 24 machine when no one's got momentum like that. Manazzi tries to squeeze the nose in because he desperately needed that P2 from Stephen Gibson. They banged 7 thousandths between P2 and P3 at the line. That was the difference you saw right there. Manazzi Major from Stephen Gibson. Justin Malello will come home in 3rd. Matt Montembeau 5th. Sorry, Malello 4th, my apologies. Montembeau 5th. Nick Cope from 6th. Jesse Gordon, great day for him in 7th. Ronnie Norman, Corey Hutchison, and Phil Scott, your top 10. So again, The playoff contenders, though, banking points in what was a scramble fest and an in-regulation shootout, Justin.
Wow, is all I can really say with Cosman coming away with the victory here tonight. Major second with Gibson in third. Low gets fourth with Montembola down to the fifth position. Coke gets sixth with Gordon down at seven. Norman, Hutchinson, and Scott amongst your top 10.
Outside the 10, Mark McFadden from Scott Leonard, Stan Hausman, Jeremiah Vincent after being aggressive slides all the way to 14th. Carl Holden not going his way 15th. Plute got back to the lead lap in 16th. Ryan Newman. Jason Gracias will finish off the lead lap with the damage to him late. Nate Cotilla and Terrell Wheeler round out the 20.
21st goes the way tonight of Tim Branson. Arabia Caden in 22nd. Williams and Barrett. Alonso's a lap down with Garrett Austin. 2 laps down for Cale Bass. Roman incident. Then Jason Shu had a horrific night. 2 crashes on pit road. He finishes 3 laps down, 27th. Vincent Desaya should say 28th. Stacy Hunter and Ethan Amberg. He popped the motor at 290 degrees Fahrenheit. Rounding up the finishers in the top 30 and overall.
And we're going to take our way to work our way through the podium as well. We'll start our way off with tonight's winner, driving the number 24. Cosman Oshu is going to get it done from Talladega. He's been Mr. Quick this season. A lot of wins on course to the result here tonight, but that 24 Tiltify Toyota Camry, she was speedy here tonight, but not without the support of Justin Malello.
Hey, that is correct. It would not have happened without Justin. Speaking of Justin, would you guys mind doing a double interview with me and him? We would appreciate it if it's possible.
We can absolutely do that. Justin Malello joins us in the broadcast booth as well. Now, Cosman, what's the meaning behind this? Stepping in here and ordering us around as your broadcasters, you've got something to say, I feel.
I definitely not order you around. I asked nicely, but if you were to order you around, I appreciate you doing it. It's nice to be up here quite often because that usually doesn't happen otherwise for me. So I appreciate you guys talking to us and asking how you do and all that.
Mate, tough race here tonight for the pair of you guys as well. The 53 for the fans and the 24 Tiltify Toyota Camrys were quick tonight. And the pairing, Justin, you doing a lot of the pushing, sometimes the leading as well. Just picking a moment to get back to the point was difficult.
There was a lot of chatter between me and Cosman that entire race, and I think we both had the end result solidified in our head where we needed to make sure either the 24 or the 53 was going to be in victory lane tonight. Cosman did a lot of the heavy work, pushing through the majority of that race. There were some moves that I made that I was not proud of. There were some moves that Cosman told me to make that I was not confident in, but at the end of the day, 24 is celebrating victory lane. He's one step closer to winning a championship here, and I think that's I think that's freaking awesome.
That I did I usually don't do this, but I was fist pumping in the air so much after winning this. Mostly because Justin and I worked together. It was a fun race. Everybody kept it clean, and both lanes worked very well. Got to give it to the Vincent guys. They definitely made us earn this one.
Challenging night here on the super speedways and the high banks of Talladega. Obviously, this gives you a lot more confidence for the pair of you as well, because strong points with a first and a here tonight. We head off to Martinsville next week, and Cosman, I mean, you're coming off the back of a win, but that's a lot of points. That's point standing. I think we had it out to 18 points just prior to that restart there. You want that confidence where anything can happen at Martinsville as well.
Surviving is the name of the game in Martinsville, and what usually happens is being on the right tire lottery. Like all the NISs that I've watched, I think most of them have not been won by the guy who's been leading most of the race because of a weird tire lottery happening.
I've seen a man do 100 pit stops here, at Martinsville before. So, I mean, it really is about doing the most you can to make sure you have a car at the end to get a finish. So, Martinsville's a special place for me. It's where I picked up my first league win. I don't think I'm going to replicate that next week, but it's going to be fun regardless, and it's going to be about trying to avoid the carnage and making sure you're there at the end.
Well, the floor is all of yours. We'll start with you, Cosman, to give thank yous and shout outs that you'd like to give here tonight.
You guys, Justin, Tiltify, Lucky Ducks Motorsports, everybody who put their brand on my car. I'm so happy everybody's on there. I hope we're giving them a good showing every week. And we're just looking forward to the last 3 races of the schedule.
And to the 53 machine and Justin Malillo, your thank yous as well.
I want to thank you guys for putting on the show. I want to thank everybody at the Speed Cup Series and Highline Diecast Collectibles for sponsoring and everything. It's awesome to run here. Like I say, every time I get up in this booth, I have the most fun I do in any other league running here. I want to thank FTF. I want to thank iRacing. Today was my 2-year anniversary of starting at iRacing on this date in 2023. So thanks to iRacing for employing me and giving us this platform to do awesome things like we did tonight.
Let alone have fun with your friends. Give us a great race up here in the booth, and I'll near heart attack with the way that one was going at the end. And one more word from you, Cosman.
I'm sorry, I was drinking water. I wanted to say that we swept all 3 play tracks. Between me and Justin, we swept them all. FTF.
Let's go.
That you did.
Yeah.
That you did. Superspeedway specialists, also the this season. Congratulations on 1st and 4th for the peer review. Congratulations on the result. And here's on to next week at Martinsville.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the podium, Justin is going to be standing by with tonight's 2nd place finisher, driver of the number 82. It's Manazzi Major.
Yes, indeed. Talk to us about what your perspective was in the closing stages there, because you're up at the front most of the day, but it comes down to a wild 2-lap dash. What was going through your mind through that final run?
Well, the good news is I got a 2nd place, and that'll go a long way in the points. Really good finish. Bad news, Cosman won, so it's actually bad for the points, and it will not go a long way. So that was a little disappointing, but congrats to him. I mean, he had an amazing defense on the last lap with the blocks he was throwing, perfectly timed. The battle with him, Justin, and Steven, I don't really know what I could have done differently. I mean, again, he did a really good job defensively. I wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, but after the first block, I didn't want to like be the cause of an incident or turn him or get into Steven or anything like that, especially with the championship implications that would have had. So I'm glad we were able to run clean to the end. Coming off of 4, I don't know. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know if there's a whole lot I could have done differently. It just kind of worked out the way that it worked out, but definitely proud of the effort today.
Seemed very difficult when it came to some of the choices here tonight in terms of things. How difficult was it to try and plot and plan your strategy to make sure you kept in good track position like you did before things got wild at the end in the first place, to get yourself in position for the wildness?
It's a little difficult for me specifically just because I don't have any teammates. So like the first part of the race when I was towards the front, I think there was a point where the top 5 was myself and then the 2 FTG cars and then the Vincent brothers. So, I mean, everywhere that Cosman went, Justin would go. Everywhere that Josiah would go, Jeremiah would go. So I was kind of, I mean, sometimes it's a benefit because you can kind of make moves for yourself and not have to worry about other people. But then at the same time, if somebody's got an orchestrated move that they want to make between 2 or 3 cars, as a single car, it's kind of difficult sometimes to defend that. But the first half of the race, it went pretty well. The first green flag pit stop went pretty well, which usually those are my Achilles heel at these tracks. I feel really, really confident on the plate tracks, but it's just the green flag pit stops can get me sometimes. So the first one went pretty good. The second one, I put in a little bit of extra fuel just in case we had a green-white checker or anything like that. I cut it really close fuel-wise the first pit stop. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough the second one, and I think that cost me enough time to drop me to like 9th to 11th in the pack. And then we also had some lap cars that were in there as well. So like physically, I was probably like 15th or 16th in line, and I just had to work my way back up from there. And kind of started running out of time to do it. We got the late race caution, which kind of shuffled me forward a little bit. And then because I was lined up behind Cosman and Justin on that last restart, They got a really good jump as the leaders. I was able to follow them through, and that kind of got me the track position back to be able to then make the moves to try to go for the win at the end. So yeah, it was difficult and really challenging. Everyone did a really good job. It was a really clean race, a lot of fun. And I mean, I'll take second place.
So next up on the schedule is going to be the Beer Street Journal Bash at Martinsville, where drivers hope not to bash their cars with contact. How do you feel about the paperclip?
In terms of raw speed, it's not my greatest track. Super speedways are my jam. I grew up close to Daytona, so this is something that I enjoy a lot, and I have a lot of pride in. The short tracks, I'm not really as strong, but I think usually with Martinsville and other tracks like that, there's a lot of chaos, and I feel pretty decent in managing the chaos. So hopefully it goes pretty well. And then Phoenix will be kind of a similar situation. So hopefully these next 2 weeks I can just survive and go from there.
Any shows you'd like to give here tonight?
Yes. So league sponsors, want to thank Highline Diecast Collectibles for everything they do for the league. Got to thank Beer Street Journal, Bow Ties. I wanted to get one of those today. I'm gonna try again next week. Ryan Newman and Associates, Twisted Steel Steak Appeal. I want to thank you guys at Green Flag TV for the broadcast that you guys do. And then my personal sponsor, Majors Garage. Funny enough, I don't own Majors Garage. Common misconception. I just drive for them, but I want to thank them, shout them out for everything they do for me. And yeah.
Well, on that note, congratulations on the run here tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Nazi Major coming away in second spot tonight with the 47 coming away in third. He's back with Scott.
Congratulations on the result here tonight. Steven Gibson, challenging race, sort of kept the car nice and clean in that early running, but then in the back half of the season, every single pit stop seemed to take a little bit of a step further forward. Structured night from that perspective for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of play it safe. I didn't really want to be caught up in the wreck in the beginning like I thought was going to happen, but we ran clean majority of the time, and yeah, just made critical good pit stops, making sure we weren't, messing up and executing what we were supposed to do, and really lucked out in the first one. And then, the second pit stop went a little bit not as well as I wanted to. We seemed like we lost a lot of time there with the group that had pitted before us. But at that point, I just decided I needed to be a little bit more aggressive instead of just riding the inside lane, just kind of ride the outside and push, and hopefully someone works with me. And caught a lucky break with that yellow, and kind of just worked out in our favor there toward going to overtime. I saw that I think it was Cosman and Matasi Major or someone on the outside. They kind of linked up, and I knew they were going to be hard to beat. So just trying to push Matt and keep a good run there for that overtime. And didn't really seem to work out with Matt. I think he just got bogged down a second too much, so just took the outside. And just kind of got lucky with where I was, and the race, ended in a favorable position for us.
Big scramble on that last lap there as well, and it was about, like you said already, timing, being in the right place, but you've also got to be a little bit aggressive. We really saw, particularly in that final stint, the aggression just kept ratcheting up. We were a little worried at points in time there when, 3 wide, where guys were just shoving with all of a sudden the aggression just stepped up to what felt like a super high level, a little bit too early for me.
Yeah, early it kind of did get a little bit aggressive. It seemed like there was about 15 to go, and I kind of wanted to back out, but it didn't really seem like it was going to be a caution, so I kind of just had to hammer it down and keep it going. Yeah, the boys were definitely a little bit aggressive in the end there, but I'm kind of surprised we didn't have as bad of a caution. I think Garrett wrecked and maybe got a few people, but it could have been a lot worse tonight.
Finally, great finish here tonight for the 47. We're off to Martinsville next week. Not in the playoffs. How are you going to play that race? That's a tricky one to walk into, not in the playoff standings. Where do you rate your finish from the short track?
Usually I'm pretty good at Martinsville. Hopefully, the setup's not, too crazy or bad there or anything. I haven't really had a chance to try it out, but hopefully it's pretty neutral. But yeah, I love running at Martinsville. I'm usually pretty consistent there, so hopefully we can take those, they take their skills and implement them.
Right, congratulations here for the number 4. Who would you like to give a thank you and shout out to for yourself, Steven Gibson?
I'd just like to thank Speed and y'all for, put on a great race and broadcasting a great race. Y'all do a fantastic job with, streaming all of us and making us feel like, we're kind of somewhat real NASCAR drivers. So, it's kind of nice to, have a break Thursday nights and feel that.
Congratulations here tonight, Stephen. Best result, I believe, so far. And, good to see you on the podium at last.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to the conclusion here tonight from the Dega Triple Play, proudly brought to you by Showtime BSBL. Justin, wild race. That one, ratcheted up right at the tail end. And here comes the playoff standings as well. I think this one's going to be important, but Manatsi Major now leads that way comfortably.
Yeah, Cosman leads the way, but it's going to be Manatsi Major who, despite doing everything he could to score good points, because Cosman got the win, it's all mute, and Cosman, with his speedway ability here, super speedway ability, should say, builds a buffer. Now, for the rest of the way, for some of the drivers, it's going to be a challenge because Cosman's pretty solid when it comes to speedways compared to his competitors here. If you're Major, you better start racking up some wins to have any chance for the championship.
Have a look at how tight it is around 4th, 5th, and 6th. 61, 60, 59, 58. Four drivers covered by 3 points as well. It is incredibly tight right there in the midfield. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll say a big shout out to you for watching along all night at home as well. This has been the Dega Triple Play powered by Showtime BSBL for the Highline Diecast Speed Cup Series. We'll see you next week when we head to Martinsville